Final blessings. We are back with another video. Let's get everybody straight. Okay? All right, now it's been about a week or so since I did a video. Try to go live this week, the day of the recording of this video. But before we begin, a couple quick announcements. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a spiritual consultation, I offer different types of readings: telepathic demonic readings, Saptima Workday readings, Egyptian oracle readings, deity readings to see what gods, goddesses, and spirits walk with you. Shadow work readings, which, as I've said a bunch of times, shadow work is always ongoing work. Shadow work reading is a great reading to do if you want to see what you really got currently going on around you at the moment. It also points you in the direction, as I've always said before, of what you should be focusing on in your ritual work. Because if you're doing real shadow work, that's going to really uncover and be crystal clear of what you got going on, which in turn leads you in the direction of what kind of ritual work you need to be doing, as opposed to just doing random work, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I always teach people your ritual work should be designed first and foremost for your needs first before your wants. Maybe you're interested in a spiritual consultation. You can use that. Most people just use it as a full sit-down, one-on-one, free-for-all with me. They usually come with a whole list of questions they want to ask. Some people use it because they want to focus on something specific or something they got going on in their life, or they got questions about the left-hand path or the occult, or they want to focus on a specific area. You can use it for any of the aforementioned. All right, so if you're interested in a reading or a consultation, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in your email your full weekly availability. Please, very important. And the time zone you're in, and we will find a day and time that works for both of us. All right? Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page, located at patreon.com/Baniti. Baniti, that's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti.com. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, including a group ritual we do together at the end of the month. Also, keep in mind, it gives you access not just to the classes from the day you join moving forward, but it gives you access to the classes in the archives, which is going 5 years back. It's a lot of content, a lot of ritual work. If you're really looking to up-step, right, take that next step to developing your path of self-mastery on the left-hand path of the occult, I guarantee you won't be disappointed. There's a ton of content. You can go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti. You can see all the ongoing classes with new classes being added regularly. Believe me, it's going to be enough to keep you busy for a lifetime, and that's not even an exaggeration. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, and check out Tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify, all major podcast platforms. Also, check out the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9, one word, on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, and primordialchaos.com 3 on TikTok. Those are the platforms that I update. I put all classes, I post these short videos on there. Those are the platforms. Please subscribe, like on the YouTube, but subscribe to those channels. That's how you pretty much keep up to pace or keep up to date on what it is I'm doing here at Primordial Chaos, right? So again, the direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the links to the social media pages, the link to the Patreon page to sign up for classes, all those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right, you see the title of the video. A couple people have reached out to do a class on this, one of these short videos, tutorials, something I've talked about on and off over the years, something we recently went through again in depth on the Patreon page. I think it was in the necromancy class, the last necromancy class. There's always been this interest, and some of that interest I think is fueled by fear. I'm just going to keep it 100%. But again, it is the reality, and it is the dangers that could happen on this path if you do not know basically what you're doing. So you see the title. How do you know you're possessed with different types of spirits and walk-in entities, right? It's not really as difficult as you think. It's more difficult for the practitioner who may not fully be aware of it. My point is, it tends to be a little easier sometimes for other people to recognize it, but it becomes sometimes more difficult for you. So it's more easy for, say, a friend or a family member, but sometimes to a practitioner that is locked in on their path, yes, it definitely can come to their attention and they can be made aware of it, but it becomes complicated when the person doesn't know. So let's walk through this in this short tutorial. Now, this is a very in-depth subject, so just again, keep in mind that this is a short tutorial. I'm going to talk about the key aspects of this because this could be a class in itself. Well, first and foremost, awareness. When you're working with different spiritual systems, I don't care if you're working with Luciferian magic and spirituality, if you're working satanic black magic, if you're working necromancy, sorcery, if you're working with the jinn, or even working with your ancestors, right? You are a magnet for all types of energies and entities, spirits, gods, goddesses, demons, whatever you want to call it, because of your spiritual vibrational frequency. When it's vibrating at a certain frequency, depending on what that frequency is, determines what type of energy that you attract. Now, understand a lot of these spirits, because we always talk about energy and them being beings of energy or light, they're able to get a good feed off of the crown chakra when it's vibrating and it emits a certain color by the crown. That's the doorway or the gateway for spirits to enter you, okay? And this is why you see, like in African traditional religions, there's a term used, say in Ifa, called getting crowned. There's work and different types of ashe or energy put on your head. It's always the seat or the crown of the head that is the area where the spirit takes residence, okay? So when your countenance is low and your halut or your aura, we all learned about our aura around by the crown chakra, is emitting a certain color, is the signal or the sign that these spirits need to see and sense of what kind of vibrational frequency you give off. Now, if you've studied, and again, remember, this is a quick tutorial, if you've studied quick information on the chakras, and if you study quick, simple information or basic information on your aura, when you're in a certain mood or a vibration, or when you're in a certain mood, it gives off a certain color or vibrational frequency. So what a lot of these walking spirits or specters or spirits that want to take host and live off you like a parasite, or ones that you have not voluntarily welcomed in to your inner temple or sanctuary, meaning your body and your soul, when you give off a certain vibrational frequency, they look for when you're in a negative state of mind or when your countenance is low. This is why you've probably heard in law, and you've probably read stories about somebody who committed an act of murder or a violent crime and an act of rage, and there's a term they use. They say they were temporary insanity or temporarily insane, meaning they got to such a point of rage that they committed this horrific act of violence or crime or killing or whatever it may be. That's because they came outside of themselves. Their countenance was so low and rage and anger completely consumed them, and they carried out something horrific. Some will even describe, you've heard terms over the years, whether it was serial killers or just people in general saying they're possessed by the devil, or there's an evil spirit in me, or spirits were talking to me, this, that, and the third. We've all have seen this and heard this over the years. We've also seen and heard, we've seen who we might label as crazy people on the streets who are talking to themselves, right? And we say that they're crazy. Who are they talking to? They're hearing voices. It's not really that they're crazy. It's that they've opened up a porthole of spirits that have taken host within them. They don't know how to assimilate, work, and communicate with it. So it's not that they're crazy. and all these other terms we use. I'm just using another example how you can be a victim of walk-ins and possessed by spirits or entities that are not there for your productive growth. They are there to live off you and feed off you like a parasite and use you as a vessel and a host to feed their addictions or things that bind them to this physical realm. Okay, so now let me give you an example. When you're working with your ancestors, be very careful. As I've said many times before, in a lot of ATRs, African traditional religions, working with your ancestors, there's a custom and a practice of pouring out libations for your ancestors. Be careful with that, especially when you're using alcohol. As I've said millions of times over the years, not all your ancestors are productive people, contrary to what you might want to believe. And I've shown people the 3-step process to invoke and propagate and call your ancestors to venerate them, acknowledging the ones you do know about, the ones you don't, and not welcoming the ones that are not there for your personal growth and development. Some of your ancestors were criminals, were drug addicts, were pedophiles, sexual deviants, murderers, killers. Okay? And some of them are looking for a doorway or a gateway to get back into this physical realm. Some of them are what you call disembodied spirits. They're trapped between, and I'm just using simplistic terms, they're trapped between the physical realm and what we call the spiritual realm. And usually it's some form of addiction or something here that they have not mastered or gotten over them, and it keeps them binded or disembodied or trapped on this realm. So in order sometimes to feed an addiction, especially an ancestral spirit, it will use a blood relative to find its way back in here, almost like a porthole. So when you're at your ancestral altar, remember, just like when you're working with gods, goddesses, and demons and spirits, you are a magnet. You are a vessel, and that could be good or bad depending on your awareness, how you use it, and how you facilitate that power. So sometimes ancestral spirits who are deviants, that are trapped here and are looking for a vessel to use for an addiction, they'll lie in wait. And if you make that one stupid mistake, they'll find a way to take host or reside within you. Just like any spirit, god or goddess or demon, when you're not working with them correctly, or you're not knowledgeable, or you approach them in an inferior aspect, or this is the number one common way a lot of people get possessed with walk-ins and different spirits, they go into ritual work not in the right frame of mind. Very dangerous. This is why for those who are part of the Patreon family, who do the group rituals with us every month, or who have been down here physically in Fort Lauderdale with me and done rituals live, whether it was at the conference or they were just down here during the month we do the rituals, what's the one thing I stress hardcore right out the gate? You must come in a positive frame of mind. You don't want to come in a discombobulated, negative, chaotic, confusing state of mind, because that also makes you a ripe candidate for spirit possession or walk-ins, right? So I'm trying to show you have to look at the spectrum. It can happen in your ancestral work. It can happen in your other forms of spiritual work outside of your ancestral work. Okay? So that's one of the first things to be aware of. The awareness, the knowledge, the do's and the don'ts, what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And the do's and don'ts, not in a religious sense, but the do's and don'ts to be doing the right thing as you work your path. Now, second part of this video, I want to focus on, well, how do you know, or how can you confirm, or what are the telltale signs that you might be a victim who is possessed by spirits and walk-in entities who are feeding off your soul and living and taking residence in your body and feeding off you like a parasite. This one, easier for outsiders to see, and sometimes not so easy for the individual that is possessed or dealing with it. First and foremost, always look for erratic change in behavior, okay? That's usually the first telltale sign where a person is acting very abnormal or very adverse to how they are normally, how their character, their personality is, and it's very obvious. So erratic behavior, mood swings, sometimes just violent fits of rage that come out of nowhere, right? Just things in regards to that are real obvious, erratic aspects of your behavior, right? Number two, doing things you normally would not do, right? You might notice you're taking risks or chances or indulging in things that are dangerous. You might be doing drugs out of nowhere that you've never done before. That could be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So you start partaking in activities that you never ever did before, or never really did before on a wide scale level. And a lot of these activities are very disturbing, or they're very, very, very adverse again to the things you normally do. And again, you might start doing, again, drugs you never did before, or you might start drinking heavy. And I'm saying this because, see, let's just say, for an example, you have a particular spirit, in this case an ancestral spirit, that's trapped here because they never mastered the being addicted to alcohol, or they were alcoholic. So you might find yourself starting to drink because that particular ancestral spirit or spirit found you as a good residence or host to feed that addiction. So you're not really drinking for that person. I mean, for yourself, you're also drinking for that person. And sometimes you don't understand why all of a sudden am I doing these things. And sometimes you just think it's you changing, but in actuality it's not. It's the spirit that's residing within you, controlling your life. Okay? So look for and see if there's erratic signs of behavior, change in behavior patterns. This person's doing things they've never done before. And usually, most of the time, majority of it is not good shit. Okay, you might start eating foods you never ate before, right? You could be overeating, right? I've seen this happen where people had an ancestral spirit, let's just say in this case, that was addicted to food and ate a lot when they were here. And I've seen this person put on weight like the person that they're eating for. So it can be a serious erratic change in a person's diet and eating habits, drinking habits, recreational drug use habits, right? Sometimes another telltale sign is physical appearance. When the parasite or the host, being like a parasite, as it starts to feed off of all of the spiritual energy on the person's body, another telltale sign is either excessive weight loss or excessive weight gain. It's usually excessive weight loss, right? These are things to look for in that person's appearance, right? They usually go through a drastic change in body type. Either they become very big or they lose a lot of weight. You could also look at the face, and sometimes by the face gets sunken in, it's just got this look like you could tell there's something wrong with it. Or sometimes you could look at uneven eyes, right? They say when a cyclops entity is inside of a person, one eye is higher than the other. That's usually a telltale sign that there's some type of entity feeding off of the individual. Or sometimes it's to the point it's so erratic, the person just lets their physical hygiene and personal appearance go. They just look sloppy and bummy. They don't take care of themselves. They start to stink and smell. I'm telling you, this. I know as crazy as some of this might sound to some of you guys watching, but these are all the telltale signs. So your physical appearance and your hygiene just starts to go downhill. You don't even give a fuck. You just look fucked up. You sometimes smell and nasty looking and fucked up. It could be a combination of both, right? These are all telltale signs that you possibly could be a victim of a walking spirit. Okay? So there's many things you could look for. And one thing, if you're really locked in and you're really grounded as a dark magician and sorcerer, I know myself, when I look into the eyes of an individual, I can see what's in there. And you can train yourself when you look at a person's eyes straight on. You can't really see it from the side or on an angle. When you look into a person's eyes, you sometimes can see the entity moving in the person. And you can also see, as you're looking straight into the eyes of an individual, when you're looking straight at them, you can just feel the sense or the presence of something looking out back at you, right? And sometimes if you're able to lock in eye to eye with them, you can see inside their eyes. And sometimes that can be frightening because you also are able to see what's inside of that person sometimes, okay? So these are just little quick, again, pointers. There's a lot more I could talk about this on this path, but I'm just giving you some quick tips. So again, if you're concerned about this for yourself or somebody else, again, real quick, look for erratic signs in their behavior, change in their attitude, drastic mood swings from good to good and bad, and vice versa, right? Things such as outbursts of rage and anger, right? Unstable emotional changes, right? Look for the person, again, eating foods maybe they never eaten before, and over excessive eating, because again, they are also eating for the entity. Because if you know what a parasite is, a parasite has to feed. It's a host, and as a host has to feed off of the entity that it is taking residence in. So it feeds off of you until there's nothing left. So that's why there's not only internal effects of this, there's external effects. That's why I was saying, when you look at the person's physical appearance, when they are really dealing with a powerful demon that has control of them, their appearance usually changes drastically. It's usually, as I said earlier, more so a severe loss in weight, but it can also, I've seen the flip side where a severe gain in weight sometimes is that telltale sign. Okay? So look for extreme changes in the person's appearance. Again, these people tend to not start caring for their appearance or their hygiene. Okay? Any of these things. These are all telltale signs to be very aware of and to be able to identify if this is the case. Now, like anything else on this path, sometimes people reach. Don't try to overreach and look into things and make it something it's not. These have to be clear, obvious signs. I want to make that clear, because sometimes people be reaching. They try to make it 10 times worse than it actually is. Put it through the process, and if it goes through the process and everything checks out, then you make that decision. Okay? So make sure you're not reaching and trying to make it into something, that it's not, because that's just as bad. All right? So again, just a quick tutorial. So again, if you're concerned about this, use these tips, learn. And again, how you prevent, a lot of this stuff from happening is by increasing your knowledge and awareness about you and your path. Okay? It's the number one tool. It's the number one implement of a spiritual warrior. Knowledge of self. Having knowledgeable awareness of everything around you and in your environment. That's the difference between somebody who's in a system of servitude and somebody who's in a system of self-mastery. Okay? So it's pretty much what I wanted to run through, and what's just kind of put together a quick tutorial, because I know a lot of you have emailed me over the last 2 years. This topic I've been trying to get to for a minute. And again, got an email from somebody a couple days ago reminding me, Baniti, can you do a quick topic on this? So here it is. Again, to help me remember, if I've said I was going to talk about something I forgot, or you want me to talk about something in these short videos, shoot me an email and run it by me. What is it you'd like to see me talk about in these videos? Sometimes I have a bunch of ideas in my head, I get sidetracked and I don't remember, and then they come back. It's just when your mind is working on multiple things at the same time, it tends to categorize what you need to focus on, whether you like it or not. All right? Other than that, that's what I got for you on this video. Hopefully this quick tutorial helped you. Hopefully give you a little more clarity on this topic. Again, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. If you want the direct link for the podcast, my contact email address, the direct link to the Patreon page to sign up for classes, all of those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. It's going to do it for me. I'm out. We'll see you on the next video.